What's good, Eagles fans? I'm your humble host, DeShields II, and y'all are tuned into another dose of Chalk It Up, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just gotta charge it to the game. On this episode, I want to do a deep dive into the man, the myth, and the unfortunate legend, Nate Gerry. Now, we all know Nate Gerry has not been performing up to par this season. He really hasn't been giving us much of any production. He hasn't been able to stop anybody or anything. And most honestly, he's just been a liability on the field. But I want to really dive deep into why he's been a liability and how he's been a liability. Because the numbers don't lie. And we all know numbers don't really tell the whole story. I understand that. And I'm pretty sure you guys understand that as well as fans. But his coach, his linebacker coach in particular, Ken Flajole, came out to defend him because the media has been crucifying Nate Gerry. Yes, Nate Gerry's on IR. He didn't play the Dallas game. He did play the New York Giants game, but he really wasn't much of any help. That game really was TJ Edwards. But nonetheless, his coach, Ken Flajole, came out to defend him because he's been receiving a lot of fire about Nate Gerry. Nate Gerry has also played 97% of the defensive snaps. 97%. And Pro Football Focus has him ranked 64th out of 85 linebackers who qualify for the statistic. 64th out of 85 linebackers. That's terrible. And you're playing 97% of the snaps. You've been on the field to the point where you can have a positive effect or a negative effect. And it's been dominantly negative. But his linebacker coach had a lot to say. And I want to talk about that. I want to dive deep into that. And I want to play it for you guys because I really want to dissect what he's saying and what he means, and you know, when it comes to Nate Gerry's production and how he sees it, because I honestly don't know, but I'll let you guys be the judge, and we'll just stop as we hear it.
You know what? I know you guys, I know there's been a big media push, or I shouldn't say media push. I think there's a lot of people that paint Nate in a different light. I'm going to stand up for the guy because he helps us in a lot of different ways that aren't shown necessarily on game day. His ability to...
Okay. First things first, I want to say I respect Ken Flajole a lot. I respect the work he's put in. I respect the man that's in the position first and foremost, because at the end of the day, he had to work to get where he's at, and he has eyes, and he's a better judge of a player and character than I am when it comes to a linebacker. But I gotta be honest, how can you say with a straight face he helps us in more ways that appears on game day? What does that even mean? What does that honestly mean? He helps us in ways that you don't see on game day. Don't you want everything he do or does to show up on game day? Don't you want it all to materialize on game day? Isn't that the goal for everything that he does in practice and in the field room to materialize on game day? Explain it to me.
Manage the game. I don't think you guys realize how much mentally we put on our Mike linebacker in terms of getting us into the right call. You know, when you're a defensive coordinator in this league, and I've been one, so I think I speak with a little bit of experience to this. You know the score, you know the personnel group, you know the time, the field position. But there's a lot of times you make a call as a coordinator based on those things, and an offense comes out and gives you a little bit different look. And it falls on the Mike linebacker, it falls on somebody on defense out there that's out on the field to amend the call to get us into the right call. And Nate has been really good about that. He gets us into the right call. He thinks ahead of the problem. He can get us out of a bad down a lot of times by adjusting the front or getting us into a check that makes it a little bit easier for us to manage that given down. So I like Nate. And again, I know he's caught some criticism, but you're not going to hear it from me, guys. I really think the guy's been valuable for us in more ways than what has been shown out on the field. It's unnoticed production by him, but again, from the coaching staff, We understand what his role is, and he's done a nice job that way.
Okay, so again, I respect Ken Flajole and everything he's done for the city, everything he's done in the NFL. I will never question his eye for talent. I will never question his knowledge or his acumen in football. But what I do question is Nate Gerry's ability to grasp the concept of his task. What I noticed Ken Flajole said was, you guys don't understand the amount of pressure and the amount of responsibility we put on our Mike linebacker, our middle linebacker. He's responsible for a lot. He's responsible for getting people in the right positions. He's responsible for getting us ahead of the problem and, seeing things ahead of time and making sure people know where they're supposed to be. Okay, first of all, when it comes to pass coverage, Nate Gerry is never where he's supposed to be. Never. So how can he get other people where they're supposed to be if he can't manage to be where he's supposed to be? Help me understand the logic. Nate Gerry has been nothing but a liability for this team, and most importantly, he's been a liability in pass coverage and its effects. But I'm going to tell you how. I can show you better than I can tell you. Let's talk about it. Through 7 games, because he's currently on IR and unavailable. Through 7 games, Nate Gerry has 57 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, a sack, and 2 pass deflections. Through 7 games, only 2 pass deflections. You're not really stopping much in pass coverage. That's just the lack of pass deflections. As the Mike linebacker, you spend more time in coverage than blitzing because you're supposed to see everything. But you only got 2 pass deflections. Okay, whatever. But let's really dig deep, because Nate Gerry, again, the obvious, hasn't been doing what he's supposed to be doing. Let's talk about last year. In 2019, Nate Gerry played all 16 games, but he played it at the right linebacker position. So keep that in mind. He recorded 2 interceptions. He had quarterbacks going 29 for 43 on 67% completions. He allowed 243 yards. He was allowing 5.7 yards per target, and he allowed 1 touchdown with a 70.2 quarterback rating allowed. So quarterbacks weren't really taking advantage of him. He wasn't really a liability back then. As a matter of fact, he was much better. Quarterbacks were average against him. He was an average linebacker in pass coverage. Okay, he had 2 interceptions. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? He was able to produce things. He had flashes, right? So automatically you think he would get better. But again, he played the right linebacker position, not the Mike. In 2020, he's playing the Mike. Let's dig deep into those stats. So through 7 games, Nate Gerry, at the Mike spot, has recorded 0 interceptions. Quarterbacks are going 27 for 32, 84% completions allowed. 84% compared to 67% from last year. Quarterbacks are dicing him apart. But let's keep going. He's allowing 257 yards. He's allowed 257 yards through 7 games. Through 16 games last year, 243 yards. Are you kidding me? The season is only halfway over, and you've already eclipsed the amount of yards you've allowed from last year. Nate Gerry, what are you doing? You're allowing 8 yards per target. That's significantly more than 5.7 yards per target from last year. And on top of that, you've allowed 4 touchdowns versus the 1 touchdown allowed from last year. And quarterbacks have a 139.7 quarterback rating against you. You are just getting taken advantage of. So Ken Flajole, again, I will never question your knowledge. I will never question what you've built and established in this NFL. I will never question your pedigree, sir. Not once, not ever. But I'm questioning Nate Gerry's production because the numbers are saying he's not doing what you're saying. As a matter of fact, the numbers show he's been the opposite. He's not putting people in the right position. As a matter of fact, the numbers show he's never in the right position. If you want to give anyone credit for keeping people in the right position, give it to Rodney McLeod. Give it to Darius Slay. But don't you dare try to give it to Nathan Gerry, the middle linebacker who's been nothing but abysmal for us. You got to charge it to the game, man. He's not been the guy we need him to be. He has not. And yes, it sounds like I'm picking on Nathan Gerry. It seems that way. It seems that way. But I'm not. I'm not, because I got a lot of respect for what these guys do. I got a lot of respect for what they put on the line. But when someone's just so clearly the problem, when you clearly see the problem and you're blatantly trying to ignore it because you want to save face, that's something we cannot allow at this point in our season. He has been the sole point of emphasis for offenses to take advantage of our defense. He's been the sole target. If you pay attention, offenses are always attacking our linebackers more than anything. They don't throw the ball towards Darius Slay. They don't throw the ball deep on us. We don't allow it that much. We always get gutted in the linebacker spot, and we always end up chasing somebody. And then our safeties and cornerbacks got to pick up the slack. Our problem in pass coverage this year, if we have any, begins and ends with Nathan Gerry. And I honestly believe he's one of the reasons why we haven't been as good on run defense as well. He barely has any tackles for loss. If he's responsible for getting people in position, he hasn't been in position to stop the running game the way we usually have. So Nathan Gerry has many problems. Again, this year he has more responsibilities as the Mike linebacker. So it begs the question, are the new responsibilities, has the expanded role become too much of a burden on him? Ken Flajole raves about this young man's IQ. But if that's the case, why have we been seeing the opposite of what you think you see? Last year, we had Nigel Bradham and Kamu Grugier-Hill rotating in that middle linebacker, outside linebacker spot. But mainly, Nigel Bradham played the middle linebacker spot. Those two guys aren't here anymore. Granted, they aren't really having the best of careers right now. Kamu Grugier-Hill is losing snaps in Miami. And Nigel Bradham, I'm not sure if he's on a roster or on anyone's practice squad right now. But Nathan Gerry, you, my friend, right now, the responsibilities you've assumed, you have not lived up to expectation. You're young. You have a lot to work on. Who knows what you may be next year, but this year, you're not it. And honestly, I think the Eagles should move on from you. It's no hard feeling, it's no love lost, but I think the Eagles need to move on from you once your contract ends. You clearly aren't capable. And it's funny because you played safety in college, so you would think you'll be good in coverage, but that's not the case. Right now, our current linebackers are TJ Edwards, Alex Singleton, Duke Riley, Davion Taylor, and Sean Bradley. I want Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley to get more responsibilities. I want them to pick up more snaps. But TJ Edwards and Alex Singleton have been doing their thing. Duke Riley, I'm still on the fence about him. But once again, Nathan Gerry, the expanded role, the expanded responsibilities are starting to prove too much, and it's starting to prove to be a liability for this Eagles team. But that's all I have for you guys on Nathan Gerry. You guys were tuned into another dose of Chalk It Up, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. One love, y'all. Flag was fly.